Hey, I'm Tyler Mathieson. I'm the afternoon host for Moose FM at 105.5 in Huntsville, but I'm also a lifelong wrestling fan. Probably the thing I love most aside from radio and the family, of course. But I'm so excited to be on this episode of Talk Solid Wrestling. And you can listen to my show Monday to Friday from 1 until 5 p.m. on Moose FM at 105.5. Listen online at mymuskoganow.com. And this is Talk Solid Wrestling.
What do you think it is about radio personalities in pro wrestling? Because I don't know what it is, but ever since I got into radio, it seems like every station I went to, there's at least one major wrestling fan who works there. What do you think it is about pro wrestling and radio that kind of have this weird Venn diagram?
I don't know. It's weird because like you even go back to like the 90s in WCW, like near the end of it, and like Jimmy Hart's doing stuff with radio hosts, or like, you know, Hogan revealing all of these sorts of secrets on like the Bubba radio show. So I think I'd have to say there are more similarities between the businesses than people care to admit. Like I'd say a lot of radio hosts, whether they care to admit it or not, they have a character or a gimmick that they do on air, maybe multiple different gimmicks that they do on air. Like I used to do, like I'd play like a stand-up clip every day. You could argue that's a gimmick, that's something I do every day. It kind of feels sometimes like doing a radio break is like cutting a promo, especially if you're like on in multiple markets. You're sometimes doing the same break, yet you're changing one or two words so it can fit in this different market. Almost like those old 80s guys doing do this do this 30-second promo 18 different times, but change like Chicago to Poughkeepsie and then Poughkeepsie to like Maryland, so we can do it in all these different markets. It kind of feels like that a bit. So yeah, I'd say the reason there's always such big like crossover is there's a surprising amount of similarity between the two industries.
You actually make a very good point there, and I'm really glad that you elaborated on that a little bit because I hadn't really thought about it too much, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that. I want
No
to talk a
worries.
little bit about some matches that really inspired you because you are incredibly passionate about pro wrestling, and it's one of the things I love most about you. So let's share a little bit about some matches that mean a lot to you, Tyler. What are some that immediately come to mind if I was to say like, what's a match that means a lot to you? What's the first thing you think of?
Oh, it's like there's so many, and yeah, I'm passionate is a very, I guess, that's a nice way to say it. I love pro wrestling. I like, for a lot of people they say it's their escape. I think that is a way to look at it, but as someone that like grew up like a big drama nerd, I just love the theatrics and everything about it. I love like the story you can tell, and I love when a story can be really simple and it's told incredibly well, almost like when a movie has like a really simple plot, but then it does something really good with it. And a match that I think really exemplifies like doing a lot with a little bit is LeBron Cozone versus Speedball Mike Bailey from DPW Limit Break. It was for the DPW national title. I believe that this was the one where they fought for the national title. And I said it to you before we started recording here that if both these guys are not on a televised like program by the end of the year, I know Bailey is, but LeBron is on MLW right now. He just got signed. But if both these guys aren't on like a major televised show by the end of the year, there's something wrong. Like Cozone, LeBron Cozone, like I'll take my 30 seconds and sing his praises here. Like there's very few people I think that can nail the character of I am just like the big popular cool baby face and you want to see me win because like I'm a nice guy and everyone likes me. I don't think that is as easy to get a cheer now in 2026, but when it's the right guy, it can, like, a Johnny Gargano looking back and say like 2016, 2017, or like a Kenny Omega in a more 2026. Like, we just like Kenny. We want to see Kenny beat somebody. LeBron Cozone feels very similar to that. And like, I don't know, maybe it's because he's from the Carolinas, but you feel like a really cool like territory babyface energy from him, which is something I don't feel a lot of in modern wrestling from a lot of guys, which I think is something that's really eye-catching. And then without not to give him his flowers, also Speedball Mike Bailey. Um, while well, always some people will say like, oh well, he doesn't talk that good, but like at the end of the day, when you are as good in between the ropes as Speedball is, I think people can let that slide. And we're getting into an era where more people are having managers again. I think you could easily stick Speedball with somebody and he could have a like a TV a title run for several months, and I would not bet it. I'd be so in with it. But yeah, the two of them together, the match is about 17 minutes long, and it's incredible. And the closing minute is probably my favorite finishing sequence of the matches I've seen in the last few years. I like it. I might be overglazing it a little bit, but the match is fantastic.
What is it about that match that sticks with you so much? If is there a particular moment? Is it a flow? Is it a feeling? What is it about that match in particular that makes you say this is one you have to watch?
Yeah, I love one of the things I love most about this match and like matches like this is when it's two guys that you feel like they like the story really is which one of them wants to win more. And like you never feel like in the match that one of these guys doesn't want to win. And like I love when wrestling, which obviously, as everyone our age, mostly can accept, it's predetermined. But when any match can make that feeling slip away for any amount of time, uh, like whatever star rating, if it's five, if it's seven, automatically gives it in like at least 4 stars for me. If you could at any point make me feel like you guys are actually trying to win this thing and you don't know who is, it's you've done your job. 10 out of 10.
I agree with you. And it's nice to hear someone else express a feeling that I myself have about pro wrestling, which is that it's at its peak when you forget about the magic trick, when the folks that are between those ropes are doing their job so well that you get completely lost in the sense of disbelief and you're able to just enjoy it for what it is being presented as in front of you. That's the real
Mm.
magic of pro wrestling is when people can forget about reality and get completely sucked into the world. And if that's what this match has done for you, then I can understand why it's considered, a very important and special match in your catalog of memories for sure. Now you mentioned Speedball Mike Bailey, and I wanted to ask about how you feel about what he's been doing since that time out of DPW. Now he's been getting a lot more attention on a national stage. That must be very exciting for you.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a double-edged sword. Initially, I was so happy to see him. No, I was happy to see him in TNA. Like I can't say that he wasn't there. I was happy he was X Division champion. That's cool. But I mean, the asterisk, he was X Division champion in 2025. He lost it to Moose, but that's neither here nor there. He was an X Division champion. You can say that. I think he lost it to Moose, but even still, current day X Division champion. And so I was happy to see him go to AEW. And then, he was in a tag team, and initially I was like, oh, but then I was like, the tag division needs somebody, and Kevin Knight's cool, maybe they can help each other. But now that it seems that, maybe not necessarily the jet speed is over, but it seems more with, especially now that Kevin Knight is the TNT champion, that they seem to be kind of loosely loosening up that tag team a little bit more because we've gotten more teams coming into the division now with like the Hurt Syndicate coming back and like other teams coming in. So I'm excited to see more what he does in the singles division. Again, I was one of those people where I knew Okada when he fought Okada was that when Okada still had the Continental title, I believe they fought, or it was when it was mixed together, they had a pay-per-view match, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Okada's obviously going to win." I was the one person being like, "Okada's going to win," but if Bailey beat him, that would be pretty cool. I think we could. And I think my gut tells me that before the end of this year, Bailey. I mean, if I'm booking it, Bailey is taking the TNT title from Kevin Knight, and then you build to like either a face versus face, two friends fighting for the title, or you continue the which one of them is going to turn heel first storyline. But I do think he will be a singles champion in AEW by the end of the year. If I had the book, he would already be one, but I'd like to see him take singles gold before December.
As a quick housekeeping aside, I will say that Kevin Knight is the TNT champion as of this recording. As for when this
Yes,
episode is
as
released, I
as
don't
of
know. That could change.
who knows? They seemingly like changing the build up, but yes, as of
This
date we are
recording
recording
today.
this, yes, Kevin Knight is the TNT champion. That could you're totally right. I was like, in my head, I'm like, AEW doesn't do TV title changes, but they did just the national title as of this recording did just change hands to Mark Davis, and so who knows? The TNT title could also change hands.
Pro wrestling is one of those magical places where anything can happen, like you said. And
Mm,
with that, I did want to talk a little bit about another match that we had discussed off microphone. You had talked about
mm.
seeing this match in a DPW, which I assume was via television screen or some sort of screen. But
Yes.
there are matches that we get a chance to experience live that stick with us as well. And you
Hmm.
brought up a match that has been lauded to me by many of my friends who happen to have been in attendance for that encounter. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that experience and how it differs from watching a match on screen that encapsulates you the way that the other one did, and how it differs from the in-person experience of watching a match that leaves such an impression.
Yeah, I think that is a really good like I guess point to make or a difference to make is seeing a match live it adds like a whole other realm to it. I think as we brought up earlier that feeling of like that disbelief being that you let that disbelief or you seeing the strings or the magic you kind of let that go and it all becomes real again. I think that is a way easier state to get into when you're watching wrestling live because you got the whole arena or the stadium around you, everyone's kind of getting into it. That can be a little bit easier. But yeah, I think a match when you can get that feeling watching it on a screen, it does mean a little bit more. But yeah, I did get the chance to see DIY versus FTR 2 out of 3 falls. Now, you are right. I almost feel like that match is getting to the point where, because like God, we're almost 10 years on from that match. We're getting close to it, making me feel
100%.
old. And so you maybe get a lot of people, maybe they glaze it a little bit or they overhype it a bit. But I'll be in the camp and say that if you were there live, the way you feel about that match, no, it was that good. Like it was almost like how you heard people describe like if and I'm not saying it is as good as this, but like when you heard people describe what it was like to see like Kenny and Okada go like 70 minutes in person or like again not saying it is as good as this, but when you read like old heads talk about what it was like seeing like Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair, like at like seeing these like moments in wrestling live, or like in a recent matter, it didn't turn out well, but getting to be there live for the John Cena heel turn, in my mind, I just tune out everything that happened the second that show ended. And even some of the stuff that happened while that show was on, like why is Travis Scott here? I just in my mind I pretend he's not there. So like I think what is so cool about that match is it feels like a moment in wrestling, like it was because again as a person that loves tag team wrestling, I've become numb to the fact that the WWE doesn't care about tag team wrestling for the most part. Every 8 to 12 months they remember that they have a tag division, or the guys decide they're going to put on like an incredible tag match and they'll care for a few months, but for the most part, it's always been a very second or tertiary thing in a lot of major companies. But when two tag teams, now and again in Gargano and Ciampa's case, they were just two guys put together in a team. but they had become like a cohesive unit at this point, and you had matching gear and everything. And I think it was two tag teams in an era where tag team wrestling wasn't really looked on at in the same like I think there were a lot of people before then match who thought like, a tag match can only be so good. Like a tag match can only be such a good match. But then you see that match get put on and you're like, "Oh wow, like." And I think that's almost FT. It's almost like a gimmick of FTR where it's like, "Oh, you thought we put on the best tag team match ever? Well, actually, we're gonna do it now." And I look back on it, and maybe there are FTR matches that I like more than DIY 2 out of 3 falls, but like I don't know if they're like I don't know if there's ever been a better FTR style match than that one. Like the whole like we're gonna cut off the ring and we're gonna do all these old references to tag teams from the 80s and 90s and maybe even the 70s. But I just being in that building for FTR hitting the heart attack, and everyone in the building wants to cheer because the heart attack just happened, but we all go because like fuck he hit Gargano with the move. That's not who I like. No, but like it's Bret Hart's move. I'm excited to see that. Like it was yeah, it's great. I think about watching that match live. And I've watched it back on TV since. It's still not as good as in my memory of seeing it there live. Like I almost kind of wish I didn't watch it back on TV because it's like, oh, I had this pristine, perfect memory of seeing it there live, but now it doesn't look as cool watching it back.
You said something there that I think is really important to make that distinction, which is you said we all went, oh, we had that reaction. And I think there is something to be said about the joy of experiencing the magic trick together in a communal setting. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
strong believer in that kind of experience. This is why I still love going to the movies with people. I understand it's
Mm-hmm.
not for everybody, but for me, there is something special about having a communal, emotional experience that you can really only get with a live performance or something that you're all watching in unison. You and
Mm-hmm.
I had talked off air about me going to see Rock and Hogan at the Sky Dome and the feeling of 70,000 people all in unison having this emotional outburst during that contest is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And for you, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like it was a very similar experience where you've gone back to watch it on video and it just doesn't hit the way it did there. And I'm sure a lot of it was the fact that there were thousands of people in that building with you, all experiencing the same thing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the moment that just as you were talking that the moment that came into my head that like I can clearly remember watching it back and being like, oh, this doesn't feel as cool. It's the end of the match where Gargano and Ciampa have the dual submission spot in, and Dash and Cash are holding each other's arms up, and the whole arena is just yelling tap at like the top of their lungs. And I can just remember, like, again, you always just like, oh, it wasn't as loud as it was there. Like, the just collective sound when, like, everyone in the arena registers that they're tapping out. Because I don't know how many people actually thought that Gargano and Ciampa were going to win, especially when it got tied up at a fall each. You're like, okay, they've given them their win. Because I don't think a lot of people like think about at the time that the Gargano Ciampa build had been happening for like I think a month. Like it had been happening for maybe a month. So everyone was like, okay, they're gonna lose at Toronto. Ciampa's gonna beat up Gargano, and we're off to the races. But it's they win, so it's like the double cheer of like, oh my god, they won. Oh my god, Tommaso hasn't turned on Johnny. They're still best friends. So it was almost like a double pop at the end there. And yeah, like that moment, like watching it live, it feels like they're holding each other's hands for like minutes. Like in my head live, it feels like that submission spot goes on for like half the match. But no, it's like less than I'd say 30 seconds they're holding hands and he taps out. But yeah, like it it was so different watching that moment back.
Sound is definitely something that makes a match, and sound is something that ends an episode. There's the bell. We've hit our 20-minute time limit, but man, that was a fun chat. And Tyler, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk some of your favorite matches with me. I would love to have you back to do it again sometime.
I very much would. I was expecting to get to talk about more, but that just shows my passion for wrestling. That I get talking about DPW and I get talking about FTR versus DIY, and suddenly all the time is gone.
Hey, but that just means we've got more to talk about on the next time you're with us, man. So thanks so much for coming on
Yeah,
the show.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Adam. I had a lot of fun, and I'd be happy to come back.